So what I do is after I've read a script and I've met with a director, I just start doodling, and I do a whole series of rough sketches. They're disposable. Sometimes I'll make 50 or 100 sketches as I'm working on something, and then I take those sketches and the things that work, the things that I am excited about, I go back and I show them to the director, and we sort of talk about how the piece will work. And in this case, I spent a lot of time looking at advertising from the 1950s. And so when I was making those initial sketches, I sort of grabbed colors from the 1950s advertising. And then eventually I make the model, the three-dimensional model, the set. And that's sort of where you sort of have to prove the idea of the design, because you can sort of sketch anything in the world, but you don't really know whether it's going to fit until you put it into scale. And I have some assistants here in my studio who actually do the model work, and they made a model of the stage, the Brooks Atkinson stage where the production is now, and they put all of the obstructions and air conditioning ducts and radiators and columns and all that kind of junk, put that all into the model, and then we kind of work around that, and we try to fit all of the things that I sketched into that box. The very first thing you see is something that we added in this production. This wasn't in the original text, and that is a vignette of Sandy and Danny on the beach having their romance, which is kind of a nod to the movie. We kind of added that in as a vignette, and so what we see is just the silhouettes of Danny and Sandy against the sunset, and then that disappears, and very quickly, and we see this kind of wall of lockers. I was trying to come up with an image for high school. I went to public high school in Evanston, Illinois, and at the time I was there were 5,000 students at the school. And my memory, which is probably not unique, is of thousands and thousands of lockers. I would just look down the hallways, and I would see an endless row of lockers. And to me, those lockers still send chills up my spine when I think about them. There's a kind of anonymity to the lockers, and I think to the feeling that a lot of high school students had. That scene is at a drive-in movie, and Danny and Sandy go on a date. They go see a horror film at the drive-in. The image for this came from a Life magazine photograph in the 1950s. And one of the things that struck me in the photograph is that it's just a sea of automobiles that goes on as far as the eye can see. To me, it really captures the excessiveness of the 1950s, the sense that the United States was becoming a vast, enormous place, and becoming slightly anonymous at the same time. You can see in some of the cars in the foreground, you can see different couples necking inside the cars, if you look closely. The Burger Palace, this is an idea that came from this book of 1950s advertising. One of the things that struck me over and over again as I looked through these pictures was that they were obsessed with nuclear power in the 1950s. Objects as common as a refrigerator or a record player would use images of orbiting electrons as a way of trying to make themselves feel modern. This was, again, sort of an idea I had the minute I read this scene. I thought, what would be a way to use that image of an atom in a burger palace? Because there's something so absurd about kind of atomic energy and a hamburger joint. The first time we see it, so actually at the center of this of these orbiting hamburgers is a giant ice cream cone. What happens is that the character Teen Angel has to make an appearance in this scene. They sing the song Beauty School Dropout, and the ice cream cone opens and Teen Angel is inside the ice cream cone. And then he descends to the stage. There's a little tiny elevator built into the front of this unit.
Beauty school dropout, graduation day.